is a proud graduate of the Western U Comp class of 2011. Dr. Kavi, as we affectionately call him, also earned his Juris Doctor from ULB College of Law and is a licensed California attorney. In addition, he also holds a Master's in Public Health with focus on health promotion and disease prevention from USC Keck School of Medicine. After graduation from Comp, Dr. Kavi completed his obstetrics and gynecology residency at UCLA Kern Medical Center. He currently serves as the OBGYN residency program director at UCLA. As a board-certified OB, physician and surgeon, Dr. Kavi has clinical and research interests in general OB, high-risk pregnancy, minimally invasive gynecological surgery, including the treatment of abnormal uterine bleeding, uterine fibroids, ovarian and adnexal masses, and both laparoscopic and vaginal hysterectomy. As a licensed California attorney, Dr. Kavi has additional interests in social justice and reproductive rights, medical, legal, and constitutional implications of healthcare policy reform, and quality improvement, which is reflected in his patient care as a strong patient advocate. Please welcome Dr. Kavi.
Well, Dr. White, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Faculty, colleagues, all the proud families that are here, and all of you students that I got to meet, some of you this week in the plenary sessions, welcome to this momentous occasion. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. Today, we are gathering to celebrate this huge milestone. It marks your transition from the safety and the familiarity of a classroom environment out to going into the real world where you're going to start seeing actual patients and be able to start treating them and helping in their healthcare plans. I am more than sure that this huge milestone comes with all these myriad of emotions. You have pride, gratitude, hope, anguish, excitement, and let's be really honest, relief, right? That you got through all those exams, all those obstacles in the first 2 years, you didn't fail anything, you got through the drama the first 2 years. I know about it, I know about all of that stuff. I was a graduate of this university myself, and I'm incredibly honored to be your keynote speaker today because coming back here and seeing all these people who are following in the same footsteps as me at once, 15 years ago, that's awesome. And I want to thank Dr. White and Marissa, who I know is over here somewhere, who reached out to me for this opportunity. Before we proceed, I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the families, the support network that you have, the friends, families, the well-wishers, the parents that are here. And if I can have you all stand up, I know you're probably in the back somewhere, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of your support. Your constant support, both emotional, practical, has been an invaluable experience for these students who are now going to eventually become residents and then practicing physicians. And it's going to be even more important that that support network is strong as they start to enter into their 3rd and 4th years of medical school and beyond into their training as resident physicians. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my own support network. As the son of immigrants who came here for a better life, I was able to achieve becoming a physician, a surgeon, a lawyer, an OBGYN, and now the program director of a world-renowned academic institution. My parents are in the audience today. If you could please help me acknowledge my dad and my mom, Dr. Kavi, and my mom. Some 16 years ago, and I kid you not, I'm dating myself, I'm fully aware of it. I was just like many of you. I walked into HPC for my classes. Back then, we didn't have that new building that, by the way, my tuition paid for. You're welcome. I walked into the medical school with the goal of becoming an ER physician. I was like either ER or trauma surgery. Don't talk to me unless it's one of those two. Don't care. And I wasn't gonna even give you the time of day if it wasn't about emergency medicine. And like all the others in this room who thought they knew exactly what they wanted, I know you ER doctors out there, I smell you from a mile away. That was me, you know, I was looking forward to this fast-paced, adrenaline-filled, you know, world that was depicted like in TV shows like ER, Grey's Anatomy. You're just running to all these emergencies, moments matter, people are screaming, it's like chaos, right? But then I entered my third year of medical school, and I had the opportunity to complete my OBGYN rotation. To be honest, I actually thought OB was just one of those fields that I just had to kind of get out of the way because I didn't think I was going to be interested in it. And I remember that I walked into the hallways of Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. And those of you who have your Arrowhead rotation, get ready. My biggest lesson to you, and this is my first lesson to you, is to keep an open mind. Because like myself, I had a very closed mind when I was walking into third year of medical school. I didn't know what I wanted. I knew what I wanted was ER, but that's it. And then I had my rotation at Arrowhead. And during that time, I remember walking into my first night shift. And I just remember walking through the triage doors. I was trying to get to my shift. And I just saw this gurney fly right by me. And it was really dramatic, actually. There was trails of blood. There was this patient who was just saying, you know, please save my baby. And there's like residents and nurses and everybody who was just flying across. And I remember I locked eyes with the chief resident. I didn't even know he was the chief resident at the time, but I locked eyes with him. He looked at me and he said, you come with me. Okay, and I was like, so I ran after them, and they ran straight into the operating room. So I followed, but I needed to scrub in. And I didn't know how to scrub. At the time, I got like one lesson when you're a second year medical student. So I'm sitting there, I'm like doing all my fingers, my nails, I'm like trying to the surgery's being done. The whole surgery's happening, all of that's happening, baby's out. I'm like walking in. So finally, I go in, and I'm like, I'm ready to begin, guys. Nobody's even gonna help me because there's chaos around here. So I struggled to put my gown on, walked right next to the resident. They were still in the abdomen. And I remember him looking at me and said, what the heck took you so long? And so the only things I remember out of that is that I remember there was a lot of blood. There was a patient that was still being operated on, and I was getting lightheaded. And so everything kind of starts getting blurry after that. And I don't really remember exactly what happened. I either passed out or I might have got close to that. But I do remember being resuscitated by the nurses. So they gave me some ammonia, some apple juice, they're like fanning me. I was in a chair. I was like, what? And I remember coming home and telling my dad, because in his world, he wanted me to be an orthopedic surgeon. I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? So he's like, you can't be a surgeon. If you wanted to be a surgeon and you wanted to be a trauma surgeon of all people, really, you passed out when there was blood. So my second lesson to you is eat on your rotations, because I didn't know I didn't even think that I was, you know, what do I know? So I walked in, I'm like, I can wing this, it's great, you know, it's gonna be fine. No, it's not. I promise you, eat something before you get to your night shift. And despite the dramatic way that all of that happened, luckily mom and baby were both okay. I was able to, you know, bond with them afterwards, you know, rounded on them on postpartum the next day. They were shooken up, but very happy that they got the good care that they did. And I started having more encounters like this on all of my services. Especially on OB, I started forming all of these bonds with patients. And I didn't think that that was possible because, again, I thought I was going to go into emergency medicine. So my perspective started to shift, and I remember coming home one day and I was telling my mom what a great day I had. I was like, I caught all these babies with my residents. They were so welcoming. The patients are happy. The parents are so joyous about their newborns. And she was telling me a little bit about her experience on labor and delivery, and she, this is now, 25 years later. And she was telling me every single detail about her labor, delivery, who was in the room, what nurses came in, when her bag was broken, all of these things. And the only other event in her lifetime that she remembers with that much detail is her wedding day, probably, right? And I think I took precedence over the wedding day. Just gonna throw that out there, sorry guys. So I remember, having that as a reflection moment, and I said, okay, well, I thought about ER, now I'm thinking about OB, I don't know. Kept going on with my rotations, and I found myself gravitating back to labor and delivery, even on my downtime. I was like, I want to just go see what's going on. Maybe I can help in triage, maybe I can go see a couple of patients with the residents. It seems fun. And I found more and more that was my happy zone. So now my perspective completely changed. I was thinking about trauma surgery, emergency medicine walking in, and here I am now midway through third year, almost a fourth year, and thinking, gosh, do I really actually want to apply to OBGYN? What the heck happened? And so that's one of my lessons to you is to really keep an open mind. You may know what you want, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And so over the last decade, I have been, after I finished residency, if you believe it, some of the first babies that I delivered as either a medical student or a rising intern are now in middle school or high school. And that's wild to me, because I remember seeing them as a tiny little dot on an ultrasound. And then sometimes those same parents will bring their kids to their subsequent pregnancy prenatal visits. So I'm starting to see them when they're growing up and they start recognizing me because their parents tell them, hey, this is the doctor that delivered you. And they start bonding with me. I think that's so cool. I remember seeing them as a little dot, like a little speck on an ultrasound, and now they're they're growing up. It's so cool. And maybe someday I'm gonna deliver their kids, which is even more fascinating to me. I share all of this with you because I want you to really be able to recognize that these choices that you make, whether it's a career choice or a pathway that you're gonna take, really, you have to kind of lean into your compassion and what your goals are. What kind of physician do you want to become? And these next 2 years are gonna help shape that. The clinical years are where you get to learn all the different variety of stuff. Keep an open mind. You really want to be able to embrace the different rotations. Even if you think you're not going to do something, at least learn everything you can, because you may never do that again, right? So I have 4 goals for you as you start walking into the next 2 years, and then also for the rest of your career. My first goal is for you to tap into the power of compassion. As aspiring future doctors, you are entering a profession that is going to hold immense privilege and responsibility. This privilege is being welcomed by those patients whose lives you touch in their most vulnerable moments. They're trusting you to guide through all of their uncertainty and healing. And that is a responsibility that has to be led with empathy. It has to be led with compassion, and you have absolutely a right to advocate for your patients who do not have a voice. That is going to be your number 1 goal. Your second goal is to maintain ethical integrity. You have to uphold the highest standards of ethical conduct in all aspects of your medical practice and adhere to those principles to prioritize patient welfare, honesty, and respect for the patient autonomy. You are not there to make a decision for the patient. You have to educate your patients and empower them to be able to make their own educated decisions and then support those decisions. Your third goal is to advocate for your patients. And I say this not lightly, because as you embark on this journey, empower your patients to actively advocate for their own healthcare decisions and speak up for your patients. I trust my medical students more than I sometimes trust my residents because they will spend more time with the patient bedside, and they will often get these stories and their fears and all these anguish that comes with their healthcare, and that is what's driving their decisions. Sometimes, in OBGYN, you have patients who will say, I really don't want to do this, I'm not comfortable with this, and that's okay. There's a reason, the patient has a reason for that. It's up to us to understand that, not just dismiss it and say, they're just crazy or they're not listening to us for whatever reason. No, they have a reason. We have to partner with them. And then my fourth goal for you is to be resilient. Because as you enter into this profession, whether it's the next 2 years and beyond, you're gonna face all of these challenges in your medical profession. You have to cultivate a culture of resilience. You have to be able to lean into your support network, these people that are watching you here today, all of your friends, your colleagues, your co-residents, your co-students, your co-attendings when you become attendings, that's your support network. And by cultivating that resiliency through them, you are going to be able to not only be able to provide the best care for your patients, but also not fall short on yourself, because personal care also is a big deal. Remember, it's not just about treating the patient and their illness and curing their symptoms and curing their illnesses. It's about seeing the person behind that patient, their fears, their aspirations, their impact that the health that they're going through is having on their loved ones. And as future doctors, you have this unique ability to bring healing and compassion through medicine and understand that genuine human connection that you have such a big privilege to be able to take forth. Western University has an amazing reputation actually in the community, where most of my colleagues, when they see a Western U student, they're like, these guys are great, they're compassionate, they're smart, they're hardworking, they're driven, they do what they're told. And I want you to be able to continue that legacy. They have a huge legacy as students. And as a residency director, if I see one of my own, graduates coming through, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look at them a little bit more closely because usually they're very good. You guys are awesome. So remember all of these tools and skills that you learned in the first 2 years at Western. It will take you so far in life, and let them guide you in every interaction, decision, and moments of care that you provide. So with that, I want to say congratulations to all of you. Embrace this moment with pride, and go forth with all the courage and compassion to become amazing physicians.
Distinguished faculty.